Welcome to XRP Pro Ledger, and today we are going deep on a development that just happened in Washington that most people in this community have not seen yet. The Coinbase chief legal officer just said that a deal on the Clarity Act could happen within 48 hours. 48 hours, not weeks, not months, 48 hours. I want you to stay with me through this entire breakdown because at the 7-minute mark, I am going to show you exactly what a full Senate deal within 48 hours means for the institutional capital that has been waiting on the sidelines and why the price targets that analysts published after the committee vote look conservative compared to what full Senate passage actually unlocks. But first, let us establish the complete picture of where the Clarity Act stands right now, because understanding the path from here to the presidential signature tells you exactly why the Coinbase CLO statement is so significant. The Digital Asset Market Clarity Act passed the United States Senate Banking Committee on May 14th of 2026 in a bipartisan 15-9 vote. Two Democrats, Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona and Senator Angela Alsobrooks of Maryland, crossed party lines to deliver the most significant legislative advance for digital assets in United States history. That committee vote sent XRP surging approximately 4.5 to 6.5%, reaching session highs near $1.49 to $1.52 immediately after the result was confirmed. The bill then moved to the full Senate floor, where it needs 60 votes to overcome a filibuster and advance to a final vote. The Senate recess begins August 10th. The House recess begins July 27th. The effective legislative window closes around mid-July. And now the Coinbase chief legal officer has said publicly that a deal could happen within 48 hours. Let me be precise about what that means in legislative terms. A deal within 48 hours does not mean a floor vote within 48 hours. What it means is that the bipartisan negotiations between Republican and Democratic senators on the language of the bill, the compromises on stablecoin provisions, DeFi protections, and the specific parameters of the CFTC and SEC jurisdiction split could reach final agreement within 48 hours. When those negotiations conclude, the bill has a clear path to a floor scheduling announcement, which is the step that has been missing since the committee vote on May 14th. Senate Majority Leader Thune has not yet announced a floor schedule for the Clarity Act. Every week without that announcement has been a week subtracted from the compressed window between now and August 10th. The Coinbase CLO statement is the first public signal from someone with direct visibility into the negotiation process that a resolution to that scheduling uncertainty is imminent. Now let us talk about what the deal means specifically for XRP, because the Clarity Act does something for XRP that it does not do for Bitcoin or Ethereum in the same way. The bill explicitly codifies XRP as a digital commodity under permanent CFTC oversight alongside Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. But unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum, XRP had a specific legal vulnerability that this bill permanently eliminates. The SEC lawsuit that Ripple fought from 2020 to 2024, and the lingering regulatory uncertainty that persisted even after the partial victory, created a compliance asterisk that institutional participants had to navigate around every time they considered XRP-related products. The Clarity Act removes that asterisk permanently, not through court ruling that can be appealed, not through regulatory guidance that can be reversed by the next administration, but through federal law that cannot be undone without an act of Congress. And the Coinbase CLO saying a deal could happen within 48 hours means that permanent legal certainty for XRP could be closer than most people in this community realize. Now let us talk about what the institutional math says happens when that certainty arrives. After the committee vote on May 14th, institutional analysts published price targets for two scenarios. Scenario 1, committee passage only. Conservative estimates pointed to $1.70 to $2 as the near-term price target once the market fully priced in the regulatory advance. Scenario 2, full Senate passage and presidential signature. Analysts projected a range of $5 to $10 in 2026. As the compliance unlock releases the institutional capital that has been waiting for permanent federal certainty. The current XRP price hovering between $1.35 and $1.40 represents a market that is priced in the committee vote, but has not yet priced in the full Senate passage that the Coinbase CLO statement suggests is now within reach. That gap between $1.38 and $5 to $10 is where the Coinbase CLO statement becomes relevant for every XRP holder. Now let us talk about the ETF picture, because the institutional flow data confirms that the capital waiting for this moment is not speculative. United States spot XRP ETFs have now accumulated between $1.39 and $1.5 billion in cumulative net inflows. May 2026 is already the strongest month of the year for XRP ETF inflows, with no single outflow day recorded in the entire month. Over 900 million XRP tokens are now locked in ETF custody, removed from the tradable market and held in institutional vaults. Bitwise, Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, Canary Capital, 21 Shares, and Rex Osprey, the 7 active US spot XRP ETF funds, have been accumulating continuously through every day of May, while the full Senate negotiations have been ongoing. These are not retail investors buying and selling based on price momentum. These are institutional authorized participants creating ETF shares by delivering physical XRP to custody, a process that only makes sense if the institution believes the asset will be worth more in the future than it costs today. Now let us talk about what the JPMorgan Mastercard Ondo pilot tells you about where institutional conviction actually sits right now. On May 5th of 2026, Ripple, JPMorgan, Mastercard, and Ondo Finance completed a tokenized United States Treasury pilot on the XRP ledger, demonstrating near real-time cross-border settlement in under 5 seconds. JPMorgan processes approximately $10 trillion in transactions every day. Mastercard processes approximately 25 billion transactions per year. These are not institutions that experiment with infrastructure they do not intend to scale. When JPMorgan and Mastercard complete a tokenized treasury settlement pilot on the XRP ledger, they are building the operational knowledge, the compliance frameworks, and the technical integrations that allow them to scale that infrastructure when the regulatory certainty arrives. The Coinbase CLO saying a deal is possible within 48 hours is the signal that JPMorgan and Mastercard have been building toward. The infrastructure they proved on May 5th is ready to scale the moment the Clarity Act delivers the legal permanence that full Senate passage provides. Now let us connect the Coinbase CLO statement to the August 10th deadline. The Senate recess begins August 10th. The House recess begins July 27th. If the bill does not reach a floor vote before mid-July, the probability of passage in 2026 drops significantly, and the risk of delay into 2027 rises dramatically. A deal within 48 hours, if confirmed, means the floor scheduling announcement that has been missing since May 14th could arrive in days rather than weeks, which means the mid-July window that everyone has been watching as the effective deadline is not closing. It is about to open. Now let us talk about the supply picture, because the institutional capital waiting for the Coinbase CLO statement to materialize is arriving into a market where the supply available to absorb it has been systematically compressed. Exchange reserves have dropped from 3.76 billion XRP to approximately 1.66 billion XRP since October 2025. That is a 56% decline in liquid supply in under 8 months. Whale wallets controlling 68.5% of circulating supply are holding in private custody. 900 million XRP locked in ETF custody. CME futures live since May 19th, adding institutional demand without adding exchange supply. The institutional capital that full Senate passage unlocks, arriving into a 56% compressed supply picture, with 68.5% of circulating XRP already in private custody, produces a price discovery mechanism that the $5 to $10 analyst targets were calculated to describe. Now, I want to address something directly, because this community deserves a rational voice on what the Coinbase CLO statement actually means and what it does not mean. A deal within 48 hours is not guaranteed. Legislative negotiations can collapse at the last moment. The Coinbase CLO has visibility into the negotiation process, but is not the deciding vote. There are scenarios where the 48-hour statement proves optimistic and the negotiations extend further. David Schwartz has been consistent about this. The bull case for XRP is built on visible data and measurable progress, not on certainty about specific timelines. What the Coinbase CLO statement tells you is directional. It tells you that the people with direct visibility into the Clarity Act negotiation process believe a resolution is imminent. That is a different signal than anything the community has received since the committee vote on May 14th. Now I want to talk about what most people in this community are getting wrong right now. XRP is trading between $1.35 and $1.40. The Coinbase CLO just said a deal could happen within 48 hours. Analysts project $5 to $10 on full Senate passage. ETFs have accumulated $1.5 billion with no outflow day in May. JPMorgan, Mastercard, and Ondo completed a tokenized Treasury pilot on XRPL, and the retail market is looking at a sideways price chart and asking when something is going to happen. The Coinbase CLO just told you when, within 48 hours. So let us zoom out and see the complete picture assembling right now. Coinbase CLO statement, deal within 48 hours possible. Clarity Act Advanced Committee, 15 to 9, May 14th. XRP surged to $1.52 post-vote. Full Senate needs 60 votes. August 10th recess hard deadline. Analysts project $1.70 to $2 on committee alone, and $5 to $10 on full passage. ETF cumulative inflows 1.39 to 1.5 billion. No outflow day in May. 900 million XRP in ETF custody. JPMorgan Mastercard Ondo tokenized Treasury pilot completed May 5th on XRP. L under 5 seconds. Ripple number 16. CNBC. Disruptor 50. Exchange reserves down 56%. Whale wallets 68.5%. Standard Chartered 2.80 base case. Galaxy Digital $4 to $5 at 1%. Swift capture. The Coinbase CLO said a deal could happen within 48 hours. The supply is compressed by 56%, and the institutional capital waiting for this moment has been accumulating for months. If this analysis changed how you were thinking about what the Coinbase CLO statement means for the Clarity Act timeline and XRP right now, hit like and subscribe. I drop deep dive breakdowns like this twice a day to keep you ahead of the move.